Movies on fire. Movies on fire.
Yeah, so Zach, when was the last time you went to a Russian airport?
Yeah, that was 2019, so just before it was impossible to go to a Russian airport.
I mean, how was it? Was it cool?
I flew through Sheremetyevo at Moscow on the way home. It was enormous. This place is huge, needlessly so. Obviously, it's a big one, but we had to take a bus from the place we landed to the actual terminal, and then the gates were spaced so far apart because of the shops. It took me forever to actually walk to where I needed to fly out. Just absolutely bonkers design.
I mean, it's to build good, strong legs. I mean,
yeah.
Did the stewardess at least offer you complimentary beets before you got on the plane?
No, but the McDonald's in Russia, I will say, high quality. I liked the fish sandwiches they served there.
So they had good beets there.
Yeah, for sure. Very good beets on their great fish sandwiches.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
But you have to be able to walk, because otherwise, you never know when you're going to need to walk the entire length of Belarus to fight the Germans.
Well, look, they just wanted you to be able to come and see your flight.
Ooh.
Waka, waka.
Wow, that was quite the transition.
Oh, man. Folks, regrettably, we're talking about the 1985 Russian classic and
Soviet
classic and seminal anti-war film, Come and See. And Zach, how did you describe the conditions under which I got you to watch this?
Oh, yeah. So, you made me watch this one. This one was your choice. And I said that you basically Clockwork Orange me, forced me to look at this. I described this movie about 20 minutes in as a series of extremely long takes of extremely depressed people. And having seen the whole movie now, I do not think I was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you who aren't aware of the premise of this film, it's kind of like the most depressing slice of life movie you could ever watch. Because the slice of life is that one time Germany went to Russia in the 40s.
Yeah, trucking to Moscow.
Yeah, that weird Charlie Chaplin guy was like, hey, that looks good. I want that. And a lot of war crimes happened.
Yeah.
And war
this is a
crimes.
Tender coming of age movie about a poor boy who got to grow up in some of the worst conditions in human history.
Yeah, I mean, really, this is a great date movie. I can't wait. When I'm maybe 2 or 3 dates in, I'm going to be like, hey, babe, I went to the store today. I got this movie. Do you want to check this out with me later?
Yeah,
maybe we can Netflix and chill with Come and See.
Would you say, Michael, that this movie has horror-type movie vibes?
Oh, yeah. Actually, there's a quote from the director in a 2001 interview, L.M. Kilgov. I want to say his exact words were, if I am to treat this film with all the gravity, no one will watch this.
I mean, I don't know if I enjoyed my experience watching this movie, but it is an exceptional movie.
Yeah, and I think this is another case of, we have stories in the U.S. during the 70s where audiences would go see The Exorcist and they would end up fainting or running out of the theater. That was roughly the same response if Kilmov is to be believed, and I don't think there's any reason why he would necessarily lie about it. Usually in these cases, I never think it's actually the movie itself that gives this person their panic attack or their vomiting. I always think there's something else in there. But yeah, this movie did trigger a lot of reactions.
Well, for Soviet citizens, a lot of them would have lived through this.
Yeah, I mean, look, the fact of the matter, and this is again something he conveyed during the interview. He almost talks about this movie in terms of, not this movie, but the massacre of Belarusian people by the Nazis during the 1940s. He likens it to epigenetics and that there's
eugenics,
a way that people, epigenetics, which is the idea that if something happens to you in life, your physiology kind of shifts to accommodate that.
Like epigenetics. Okay, so actually,
and as time went on, people in Belarus were just, this was not something folks could even allow themselves to talk about. And it was a real struggle for the cast and the crew to actually work with local actors in Belarus to film this movie. Just because I feel like, triggering is a word that gets thrown around a lot. But I think you can rest assured that this was not an easy movie for the cast and crew to make. I mean, look, to put this in perspective, Kilmov, the director of this film, he had plans for a fourth movie. It never came to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is unrelenting. And then part of the reason it has such an impact is that they kind of just did a lot of it for real. Like, I guess the best way to show artillery fire is just to fire some artillery. And man, does it work. It's also one of the very few movies I've seen that actually realistically depicts soldiers as young men, predominantly, like very young men. And obviously our main character here is an extremely
He's
young
13
man.
years old.
Maybe too young even to be a soldier. But he's not alone. There are a lot of boys who aren't that much older than him in both sides.
So I guess I'll just kick things off by giving you a quick summary. Two young boys are playing in the sandbox looking for
Some cool toys,
ordnance, some
Yeah.
cool toys to go off to war to fight the Nazis with. This really pisses off a prophetic old man who tells them to stop being so very naughty and to immediately go back home. Regrettably, the main character, Foya, declines to do this, goes home, says goodbye to his beloved mother and his two sisters, and joins these really cool partisans to go off to this crazy day camp, this great summer camp where he's going to learn everything there is to know about soldiering.
How's that go?
Well, it doesn't really go that great. The first thing he does is promptly lose his boots to an older partisan. And, this kind of reminded me on that first day of summer camp. You don't feel that good about yourself. You're a little homesick.
You get bullied by your friends.
You got bullied by your friends. And what do you know? Things just get so much worse. He joins a local girl, Glasia, who I think they're almost just kind of attracted to each other just by the fact that they're like the only two 13-year-olds maybe in this entire contingent of
The only 13-year-olds in the army.
So, they spend most of their time sludging through a bog before spotting a plane flying overhead, which promptly drops bombs on the camp, forcing Lasha and Droya to head into the woods for what's actually this is the most pleasant 5 minutes of this movie. This is like the only
before the bog.
Oh no, there's two scenes where they're bogging it up. This movie is
you're
bog
right, yeah.
filled. There's so much bogging. I mean, I feel so bad for not even this character, but just this actor.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
They're like, hey kid, put on these shitty boots and go stomping through the mud.
Get in the bog.
Get in the bog, Shinji. So, and then, I guess the movie decides, well, we're going to really subject the audience to a lot of misery, so we might as well give them 5 minutes of a pleasant-looking cinematography and a weird crane to gaze at. And that we do. After getting bombed, the two kids build a nice little tree fort together and settle down for the night before Freya decides, I'm going to take you back to Mom's house. Yeah, she's gone. A lot of the other villagers are gone, and it's okay. Everyone's okay. It's all fine. They left a note. They went out to the store. Gonna be back soon. And Freya decides, well, I can't wait that long. We gotta go find Partisan Summer Camp Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. And after some family-related trauma later, and yet another incredible march through a bog, they wind up at fake Hitler Island, where, Zach, I don't even think it gets resolved as to what happens to these people. I'm pretty sure they all die one way or another. I don't think, because, there are two groups of villagers we see in this movie. Mm-hmm. There's, that first group he gets to, where like presumably they had fled, and then there's
True.
like the other village he comes across after stealing the cow.
Right. The second one obviously gets killed at the end.
Oh yeah.
But the first one, is it the same? No, it's not the same village. You're right. Yeah.
They gotta be like neighboring villages
they're
because like
close.
clearly they know this kid. They love him to a degree. That any community would love, a member of it. And yeah, I mean, this is really where I think things go from bad to worse in this movie, because he decides to leave the safety of this enclave, even if it wasn't really safe to begin with, to go with these 3 other guys, and they're cow shopping. That's what they're doing.
Guy's cow.
Yeah, they go out, and after 2 dudes get blown up by a landmine, the Minen. The Minen. Man, this movie pointed out that my German really sucks. Yeah, so
It's like,
cow
this movie does not
shopping.
make me want to be German.
Yeah, so man, this one fucking guy. Who did I compare him to while we were watching this? It's like Russian Ryan Reynolds pops up in this movie for like all of 10 minutes before he gets shot and killed.
Yeah, Uncle.
But
What was his name?
just call him Uncle.
Glossov? Yeah, the uncle.
Uncle Reynolds, Uncle Ryan Reynolds,
Yeah.
Russian Uncle Ryan Reynolds, and Florian.
But of course, nothing good can last.
Nothing good can last in this movie. Nothing, absolutely nothing. So, after losing 2 members of their party and carrying this frankly bizarre like effigy of Hitler out in the middle of nowhere
And exploding him.
yes,
very fun.
and exploding Hitler, which I think I can approve of. Can you approve of exploding Hitler?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
It's usually a good thing. Point is, we get to a point where we think there's like a moment of happiness in this movie. And, things are looking pretty chill. They broke into an old man's house. They hijacked a walking Happy Meal to take back to their land. And things are pretty cool. And then fucking tracers start flying over the Russian... I guess it's the rural landscape, and as they're trying to get back to the tree line, you just see tracers fill up the screen, and the camera is so close to this kid's face as you can hear bullets whizzing over his head. And these are real bullets.
I was going to ask actually. Yeah,
These are real tracers. It's a miracle they didn't kill any of the actors. But there's a cow in this scene. Mm-hmm. They shoot that cow.
They did shoot the cow.
Granted, this was a sickly cow, but they shot this cow on camera.
Yeah, we don't have American restrictions on no animals were killed or harmed in making this movie.
I mean, we barely had those in the U.S. in the 80s anyways. Yeah. But we especially don't have them in this movie.
No. Soviet Union says A-OK to killing cows for the making of a movie.
Yeah. And, again, I was reading on Reddit, and someone describing this movie said it's like Inception, but with rock bottoms.
Oh, yeah, that's not.
It's just rock bottom after rock bottom after rock bottom. And after trying and failing to get this cow back to his camp, Fiora is picked up by a kindly old Russian man who gives him a new name, tells him to lose the rifle, and to come with him back to his village. This is all very well and good, but they arrive just in time for the flying Nazi circus to get there. Yeah, I mean, I said this movie is about war crimes, and there's really only one way this whole situation can end. The Nazis force all of the villagers, Fiora included, into this big barn that they later set on fire.
Flora does survive.
He does. Cool. He does technically live. Yes,
he's alive.
You're technically not wrong. He's still. His heart is still beating.
Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah, and basically, the movie ends. God, I mean, I've skipped over a lot. I mean, there's a pretty horrifying. Like, they don't even show it.
I mean, we can't talk about every war crime, Michael. We'll be here all day.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, look, if you're not having the greatest day, if you're not, if you're going through some shit,
This is not a feel-good movie.
Dude, yeah, you need to pick any other movie. I mean, this movie ends. I mean, it doesn't quite end, but there's this haunting shot of this woman who has been severely assaulted, and the camera just kind of gazes into her eyes, gazing at the abyss, and it's so. Bleh. I mean, I don't even like. I kind of feel good when these guys execute the rest of the Nazis that they round up at the end, but it's not a happy moment.
No.
Anyways, the last shot of the film is this young boy picking up his rifle and unloading its magazine into a picture of Adolf Hitler, as the film rapidly sends us back in time, back before World War II, back before the Electric Boogaloo, back before the Munich beer hall putsch. Yeah. We go
War I, yeah.
Yeah, back to when Hitler was 13, back all the way when Hitler was just a wee baby. Just a wee little baby in his mother's arms. Baby Hitler is the last thing we see in this movie.
Well, no, there's the scene where Flora is hiking with the rest of the partisans, or marching with the rest of the partisans.
Excuse me. There's that incredible tracking shot.
So good.
Yeah. And dude, what's really cool about this is, okay, how like watching this, I was kind of curious. How do they go to one part of Russia covered in snow? Or excuse me, how did they start in a barren green patch, and how did they go to a part of Russia covered in snow?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So look, they use these big fucking turbines to melt all of the ice and snow off of the ground.
Good Lord. You don't get coordination like that in a democracy.
Dude, it is so cool. Like they physically transformed the shot where they started, because like this movie is filmed with a lot of Steadicam it holds up just
that's
beautifully.
I think the first thing to talk about is just this movie is beautiful, which is strange to say coming off of the war crimes list that we just went through, but it is stunningly beautiful, and it makes really good use of its ratio too, because 4:3 is not common at this point in Hollywood movies, but we found out it is in Soviet cinema. But 4:3 is very good at framing faces, because it means that's kind of the only thing in frame. And man, Klimov, Ilym Klimov, is that the director's name?
Yeah.
Makes incredible use of it, where he puts the actors dead center, frames them in a box.
This is such a claustrophobic movie.
Yeah, it is so tight quarters. It's constantly just like zooming in on these long shots of people reacting. It is brutal, but it is incredible. And when he does do shots facing outwards, they're stunning. The coordination in terms of like where he's putting things, it's like a Wes Anderson film, unironically, in that like it's often this beautiful like symmetricality focused on like the ways everything in the background has a purpose. It's framed in the exact right form. It's just that what he's framing is a horror instead of something weirdly twee. But yeah, it's incredible just to see his masterful use of that Academy ratio format.
Yeah, I mean, the way he's using it, it's almost like he's squeezing you into the frame. You know, it just,
yeah, it's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, I don't think I can necessarily add anything you just said, Zach. But you know, I've always thought 4:3 is a pretty cool ratio.
It has advantages.
I mean, granted, I don't think it will ever compare to the 2021 epic, the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League.
Of course not. The ultimate 4:3.
I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but Zack was able to access the Speed Force. Not you. I'm talking about
Zack Snyder.
Yes,
the true
yes.
Zack. Yeah.
Zaddy God was able to access the Speed Force and was actually able to take this movie back in time. And that's where Kilmoff decided to use.
To see it. And I would say, dare I say, a masterful use of 4:3, just as good as Zack Snyder's Justice League. Yes. But unironically, it's incredible. It's such a beautifully framed movie, and whoever the cinematographer is deserves a lot of credit as well. They did a great job.
Yeah, and I guess, you know, dude, one of my favorite movies, probably I hate to say of all time, because I mean, quite frankly,
that changes constantly.
Dude, I'm 26. I'm going to be 27 in a couple of months, but like I have a lot of time to figure out what my favorite movies of all time is. But I have a bet that I'll still have kind of a thing for it. In a lot of ways, I'm curious if Alex Garland saw this movie, because it's hard not for me to link this in my head to Annihilation, and that there are so many beautiful shots of nature in this movie that are just kind of dedicated to showing this natural world and kind of, I guess, putting us in our place in it. I mean, I feel like there's just such a cold indifference from all the animals we see in this movie, because animals are a pretty big focal point in it. I mean, we have...
Absolutely. I mean, Fluora's name is Flora. Like, he's rooted in the natural world.
That does mean flower, right?
I think so. It's definitely like flower or field or something.
It better mean flower or field, because otherwise we're going to look like...
We are going to look like idiots. We can edit that out. But he's clearly established with the natural world. Like, we see so many good landscapes. There's so many beautiful animals. There's an early scene where he runs through and steps on a bird's nest and shatters the eggs to emblematize him going into the partisans.
It means flower or blooming.
Nice, yeah. But it's... The way that they destroy the land as well is played into this, and it's a way of showing how they're destroying the Belarusian land in addition to its people, of the Nazis destroying everything as they move forward. And also, like, the defense of that land, the love the Soviet people have for it. It's a little bit propaganda-y, but it's also very well done.
Look, I still think that, what I was saying earlier about it, dude, it almost feels like an interlude. Okay, where you have Dasha and Floya running off. It's like these kids they're going to get to be kids for like 6 or
13,
yeah. I mean, dude, it's like a 4 or 5 minute long scene, and it's just these kids just kind of being happy.
And they're playing in nature too. Again, like that, it's the natural aspect.
I mean, it's coldly interrupted when they get fucking bombed.
Yeah.
And dude, we were talking. We're pretty sure they were just blowing up real bombs next to these actors.
It definitely looks like it. I mean, that would be the cheapest way for, especially a Soviet.
I mean, even if it's just like tannerite or whatever. But
yeah. I'm sure. I hope they didn't actually just fire artillery shells at these kids. I don't think they did.
Yeah, I hope you're right about that too.
I don't think they did though. I think they just exploded something. But there's like no fire. It doesn't look like the Hollywood explosions. It looks like an actual shell.
Yeah, I mean, this movie has. So, the last movie we reviewed here was Warfare, and I do think there's a lot of crossover between these two. Like, I think
it's an interesting take.
Come and See has maybe... It's hard to tell if there is any, like, artistic... Like how much of this was... Because, like, at points this movie feels like reenactment, but there are times where it feels more abstract.
Yeah.
And it walks an interesting line. And I kind of feel like Warfare is kind of doing something similar, where you have these two film texts that are basically taking people's memories and recollections and casting those to film.
And I think part of the difference, there's two main differences. One is that Warfare is from one person, whereas Come and See is kind of an agglomeration.
It's like an amalgamation of a lot of different people. From what I can tell, yes, this was a script written by... excuse me,
No, go for it.
I've been saying his name so long.
I think it's Klimov,
Elman Kelmov. I mean, it was based off a script, but the fact of the matter is that he had a book that was based off a real event that he would go back to time and time again. He talked with a lot of like Belarusian like locals, and I do think, even just because some context here. This man was 10 or 11 years old
it's
when
not that far away.
Stalingrad is lit on fire and so much oil spilled on to the Volga River. It sounds like a heavy metal album.
But yeah, the river is literally on fire.
It was literally on fire. And this guy is on a boat in this flaming river with his mom and his brother, who are just like throwing themselves on top of these kids to keep them safe. It is really, really bleak.
And it would have been in the public consciousness as well. It's worth remembering that 1945 is as far away from 1985 as we are from 1985. That like it would have been well within living memory at the time this movie released.
Yeah. I mean, that again, this was a ordeal to go through just because this was stirring up memories for some people. Right. I just want to be abundantly clear about that when you're watching this movie. And this film was coming out at like a really weird time in 1985. And in Soviet history, because for the record, Kilmov had been trying to get this film made for 7 years.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been able to do that for a bit,
He had basically been campaigning to be able to make this thing. And it's only when it's a historical event referred to as the Thaw, when the Soviet authorities were relaxing some standards, starting to crack down on people a little bit less. Because, I mean, look, dude, this movie comes out in 1985. This is 4 years before 89, 5 years before 1990.
Right.
The Soviet Union is...
It's heading towards extinction, but nobody knows it quite yet.
Yeah, it's inching closer and closer and closer. However, at the time, well, you still have like a pretty big component as to why this movie had been allowed to be filmed around this time. Is because the Soviet war in Afghanistan is still going on.
Yep.
And
yeah, to hit a little too hard.
I don't think I am the right person to necessarily comment or give exposition on this, because I haven't done all of the reading. And oh boy, there is a lot of historical context you can unpack.
And the Soviet war in
this
Afghanistan
film
was not a simple war either. Like, Americans make a lot of the crimes we committed out of Afghanistan, and justly so. But if you're worried about that, you should look up the Soviet ones. It is somehow more brutal. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I guess you really don't want to release your anti-war movie around the time you're perpetrating a pretty brutal invasion of another country.
Yeah, maybe bad timing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just a wee bit, just a cheeky move. But there's again some closer to home politics with Polish people around the time who were kind of like subtly protesting this movie when it came out.
Because, feels fair, actually.
Yeah. Again, I wish I had been able to do a little bit more digging into, find a little bit more context around that part of the conversation. But suffice to say, this was kind of a controversial film within the Soviet Union when it came out. And that's why it takes so long to get this movie up to stuff. I mean, hell, one of the reasons why it ends up coming out in 1985 is because this is the 40th anniversary.
Right. 45.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, this is
and to be fair, the Soviets are justifiably proud of their World War II heritage. So I can imagine that was some patriotism riding high.
Yeah, in fact, look, do you want to know what the original title for this movie is?
Oh, yeah, what is the original title?
Kill Hitler.
I mean,
Kill Hitler.
They're not wrong.
Kill Hitler.
I like Come and See better, though. Come and See is brilliant. It's based off the biblical, it's the breaking of the fourth seal. The fourth seal breaks, and I believe it's an angel says, "Come and see." And that's where they, "Behold, I saw a pale rider, and him that sat thereon was death." It's the fourth horseman of the apocalypse. Yeah.
It's more poetic. And to be fair, Kill Hitler, I guess this is one thing where Kilmov kind of was trying to frame it as more of a philosophical piece. Like, we must kill the Hitler that lives within all of us. Like when I go to my roommate and tell him he must give up a quarter of his room because
I need it.
I need it.
Yeah.
To breathe.
Right.
I need that room. He can live in the bathroom. Yeah. I need his room. You have to
kill the Hitler in you. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I need to kill the Hitler in me to overcome that feeling.
Yeah. One thing I will say that I do like about the movie quite a bit, though, is, and another conflict or contradiction to Warfare, which is focused on the experience of combat. Fluoride doesn't really fight that much.
No.
Like, I think he only fires his gun to shoot the Hitler photo, which is obviously not another person.
That's another one of the motifs that I wanted to talk about in this movie is the rifle. Yeah. He literally pulls this rifle, it's this cursed artifact. He literally digs out of the ground. Mm-hmm. In some ways, it is kind of like a horror
from the underworld. Yeah.
I mean, dude, in some ways, this movie does have that in common with Friday the 13th, in that you have a dumb teenager who, against the advice of the old elderly harbinger, decides to enter the cursed realm.
Mm-hmm. In this case, the cursed realm being
in this case, it's war crimes and not like Jason Voorhees. But yeah, I mean, he digs up this rifle. He keeps it with him throughout the entire movie. Mm-hmm. And when the stock finally cracks, he's
my God,
able
yeah.
to find a med kit.
Yeah, that's
and he
such a
wraps
haunting image.
bandages around this rifle.
Yeah, that is a terrifying feeling of like this. Yeah, his definition of himself as a soldier is so important to him that it's like more important to repair that. It is terrifying. Again, despite the fact that I don't believe if he ever fires it, I didn't notice outside of shooting the photo. And then the only time we ever actually see him use it against another person is threatening another Belarusian.
He threatens the village man who...
The old man who has to give him his cow, yeah.
Yeah.
So he doesn't ever use it against the Germans. When the Germans come, he gets taken immediately.
Yes, he does. I mean, this kid with his one rifle that he's following around like a little lost puppy the whole time, it doesn't make a difference.
He can't take control of the situation. It's controlling him.
Yeah. I mean, it's... again, from like an anti-war standpoint, I do think it is, because like, I guess this movie does end on kind of a note of nationalism.
A little bit, I guess.
Where I guess he's finally ready to become one of the partisans at the end of this film. Like, it's an interesting,
still not a positive feeling.
Oh God, no! It's not.
As they fade into the forest. Yeah, like
yeah.
Man, yeah. And one other thing as well with that side, where similar to a horror movie, again, we don't actually see the Germans for quite a while. We only see their effects. Like, clearly everybody's scared of them, which fair. And we see the massacres and the horrors they're perpetrating, but we don't actually see any Germans until probably the last quarter of the movie. It's very late. Obviously, when they show up, they're appropriately horrifying, and as they should be. But they are not... They're mostly seen in their effect rather than in themselves, which I think is a very good call.
I mean, not only are they horrifying, but they behave like frat boys, which I feel like... Okay, I'm not going to throw the American people under the bus. I'm not this time. But, I think sometimes people play a game like Call of Duty, or, you watch some other movie like Act of Valor, and maybe you get the feeling that, okay, like, soldiers are always professional. They're always going to do the right thing. We're always going to stick within the moral conventions. And to be fair, I guess no one was going to watch this movie and be like, why, they're not depicting the Nazis politely or whatever. But yeah, it's...
I mean, it's an uncomfortable fact that most soldiers throughout history were probably under 24.
Yeah.
And as men who have been below 24, those guys are often idiots. Not always, but often. And
I mean, there's a point where, like, man, if you're under 25, you can't help but be stupid sometimes, okay?
It's like,
your fucking brain.
If you are a man under 24 listening to this, we are not saying you're being dumb right now, but we are saying that most of the dumbest decisions you make will come before your 25th birthday.
Yeah. Okay, like, the way your brain develops is going to be holding you back until a point where it's not. And then presumably when you get to be really old, it's going to start holding you back again.
But also, like, that's... The frat boy comparison is perfect because that's what most soldiers would have been like. It's a very different... It's not even banality of evil. It's not that kind of, like, Eichmann concept. It's just, like, these people are evil just because they can be. They're not... Most of them are not out seemingly for an ideological piece. There are a couple that we see who are. But most of them just seem like they have the power to do it, and they take it.
They're just bored, and they're just following orders.
Yeah, and they're just like they've been given power over people to do horrible things, and they take advantage of it. Again, most of them don't even seem to be... This is the SS, this is the Einsatzgruppen. Like, this is not... These are the true believers, functionally. But when we see them towards the end, when they've been captured, like, there's only one of them who really holds to his principles, which I just hesitate to call, like, admirable, given that his principles are horrifying. But he's a true believer. But most of them are just scared boys, or scared old men, like, hoping for their lives. And I think that's more terrifying in some ways.
Yeah, that is probably one of the more disgusting things I've seen in this movie, is like this old man claiming, well, I didn't really know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was taking a lot of Ambien.
Like, we saw him right before this. Yeah, like he knew what he was doing.
I was just doing it for the meme. You guys are taking this too hard. It was just a prank. I love my grandkids.
Yeah. And to get to the theme of nature that we're talking about, he has a pet loris, like a lemur type kind of early primate that he's protecting, right? He puts the hat over the
Yeah,
to make sure it can't see.
I mean, look, this animal has saucers for eyes.
Yeah, it's enormous.
Yeah.
Come and see.
Yeah, you know, like again, huge eyes. I don't think it's coincidental that they picked this animal.
Yeah, but one of the few times that we prevent something from seeing.
Yeah, he literally
It's
takes his cute little SS helmet and he puts it on top of. I mean, I thought it was a kinkajou at first, but what did you say it was?
loris, yeah.
It is a loris, yes.
So it's hiding these massive eyes from seeing the horrors, but at the same time, they literally just told them, like, as long as you leave the children in the place we're going to burn alive, we'll let you all live. Like, it is... Like, it's not even that banality deal. It is terrifying in a very different way, where it's just, like, the most base instincts of humanity kind of let loose.
So, Alexei Kravchenko, in his interview, said that of all the
That's the
scenes
actor
in
for
this
a main
movie...
character, correct?
It is. Yeah, he's the actor who was, like, dude, 13.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
13-year-old kid by the time this movie was made. I mean, funny story. Kilmov hired a hypnotist
What?
on set to help this kid deal with, I guess, PTSD and psychological issues.
And
He said, I thought I would send him to the asylum. And to be fair, you know, maybe he wasn't giving Kravchenko enough credit. Ultimately, he doesn't go to the asylum. The
Soviet
hypnotist...
filmmaking is something else.
The hypnotist wasn't needed. It wasn't necessary. But of all of the scenes in this movie, Kravchenko says the scene at the end in the barn is what made him the most upset.
Yeah,
And you can see it on this kid's face.
I mean, yeah, I guess traumatizing him did get a good acting vision of trauma, and he nails that. One thing I do like consistently is they do pull in on his face through a lot of this, that they're using one of the most powerful kind of empathy generators that you have, which is just like zooming in on a person. And despite being a kid, he does a great job here. It is truly haunting to watch his innocence like drain away from him over the course of the film, especially given like you could almost do like a direct comparison, like shot of the framing of him at the very beginning of the movie when he's happy and smiling and Fiora, towards the end of the movie where he's deaf and crazy, to use Glasha's words, and like his only joy is from shooting the picture of Hitler. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I'll say it like this. Like, if you hand this kid a hot chocolate and maybe the first half of the first act of this movie, he's going to be okay. If you do the same thing at the end of this movie, oh boy. Nope. Not the same reaction.
And this movie is also viscerally uncomfortable in places where, like, when he's digging through the second block with Glasha, and which is, by the way, is like another great metaphor. This like horror, he's like trapped in the land that he's from, right? Like this, like it's like swallowing him whole. Man, it's great, but also it's just uncomfortable to look at. The movie really makes you feel like a child who's been forced into a war, and it just consistently has this oppressive atmosphere without ever forgetting that the moments of levity still happen. Like there's still occasional moments of human connection and cheer. Well, cheers may be strong, but
Yeah, I mean, I would say they definitely emphasize that this kid is of the land. He is of these people. Like, dude, it's hard not to look at this movie and to not think about the DNA it shares with other films that have come out. I mean, there's a scene that I think, you know, for those of you who enjoyed Midsommar, there's a scene about halfway through this film that, you know, might remind you of that movie. I'm kind of wondering just like how influential was this film? Like how many guys who are working in the industry now saw this movie and decided to like sneak in like homages to other films?
Yeah, I'd love to see that because this movie is incredible. Like, don't let the fact that we've seemed like we hated watching it turn you off. It is beautiful. It is incredibly well shot. It is incredibly well acted. And just an absolute masterpiece, despite the fact that it makes me genuinely uncomfortable to watch. But yeah, I would wonder how much influence this has had, because this does kind of take horror tropes in some ways, betters them in a lot of places, and then applies them to a very like real traumatic event, which somehow manages to magnify everything. But even the use of camera to show information is incredible too. Like when they're panning away from the village where he he tries to take Lasha home to see his mother. Because like we all know what's happened.
Oh yeah. There's no hiding what happened, and
right. But then they pan, because at that point I thought we just weren't going to see it. Like they were just going to leave. But the pan to show what had happened, and these bodies just like stacked up. It's very brief, but it's incredibly effective. That it's as they're just running away. It's incidental. Like somehow limiting the framing of it, not making it into a big deal, makes it more horrifying. It's incredible.
I mean, for a movie that is about war crimes, there's not tons of violence on display in this, and I think that's a very smart idea.
But they save the violence for the end.
Yeah, because there's a Japanese film that's kind of tries to be an analog to this called, I want to say, The Men Behind the Sun. It's about the Unit 731 experiments. That tries to showcase Japanese war crimes against like the Korean and Japanese, or I'm sorry,
Chinese, yeah.
the Korean and Chinese POWs that were being experimented on by Unit 731 to like, well, I mean, there was, you can't see this, but I'm making air quotes with my fingers right now, medical research undertaken by this division.
Yeah, that is not.
But it was basically pretext to strap dudes next to like anthrax bombs and to like blow them up and shit.
Yeah, it's medical research in the broadest and loosest possible definition.
Yeah.
If you apply that to sadism.
And like this movie about Unit 731 maybe tries to do something similar here, but they are showing you all the bloody violence and stuff like that. And, well, what happens when you do that? You've made an exploitation film. You've basically made, like, the 1980s equivalent of, like, Saw, but with this, like, weird, political true story undertone to it. And I do think, yes, like, this movie goes to some pretty far lengths, but I think they handle the violence in a way that kind of, like, preserves the dignity of the people that this actually happened to. Like, I think a good example of this is toward the end of the movie. We don't need to see this poor woman get gang raped.
Yeah, I don't think the movie would be improved if you did.
Yeah. Like we don't need to see her stripped of her clothes in this movie. And wisely, I mean, it's still extremely disturbing seeing her get snatched up and dragged into the back of this truck filled with screaming men.
You still get the impact of the crime, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't think we see anyone get shot directly in this movie. There aren't scenes of villagers like burning to death and their skin
the uncle
charred.
gets shot.
That's right.
We do actually see one villager who's been charred. We don't see it happening to him, but the prophetic old man is burned alive, and we get to see him after.
But he's still treated like a man first and foremost.
Sure,
like he's a man who this horrible thing has happened to. But he's imparting wisdom to the audience. Okay, he's got things he's saying and contributing. Like, he's not there just to be a top 10 best kills.
Right.
Number 10, the old man who got burned to death.
Yeah. To get back, I think, to a little bit of what we talked about in our John Ford Westerns, the violence itself is not the focus. Like, when violence happens, it's very fast. Like, the artillery shells are not, like, it takes a very brief amount of time. When the tracer bullets are going off, even that doesn't take much actual time. We spend more time with the aftermath than we do with the incident itself, which I think is very wise, especially for this type of movie. And the only time we actually see it being perpetrated is towards the end with the Germans, when we actually see them. For the rest of the movie, it's all very quick. It's all about the effects, similar to the Westerns we were talking about, where you don't see the violence, you see the horror that comes after it. And
what? Dios mío. What? Oh, hang on.
Sorry, it was my speaker.
No, it's okay. Hang on. I just gotta make a note of this real quick. Okay, it was like 42 minutes. Check 42 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Pick up back where you were talking about your comparison to the Fords.
Yeah. So we don't actually see the violence is fast. It is not particularly long. Again, the artillery shells don't take very long. The actual tracer bullets aren't that long of an event. We see what happens after. We spend the time with him having to cower behind this bloated cow. We see him going near death, it seems like, because the artillery, rather than than spending the time in the violence itself. And the violence itself is not glorified. Even when we actually get a POV shot of a man with a gun, it's him intimidating like this helpless old man to give him his cow. It's not some like heroic charge.
Yeah, I mean, even when they're executing the German officers at the end of the movie,
Which is like an accident. Yeah, they don't even intend to start firing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not like one of these guys shoots this Nazi and his head explodes. You know, it's a bunch of people who are like begging for their lives, who desperately do not want to die, but who are like slowly bleeding to death.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts of that is that there's a man who runs up with fire that I believe is coming from the burning village, because it looks like a man who's from that village. So like it could be a moment of like, oh, their revenge against the Nazis, right? Like we'll light them on fire for the crimes they did to us, but they never use it. They end up dying accidentally before that, and he just drops the fire in the river. That like the revenge they can't use it. Like it never gets to where it can actually be useful. They can't do it.
I mean, if I'm going to put on my 1000 IQ hat, perhaps the revenge is the rejection of the fascist ideology of Adolf Hitler.
That's a good thought, yeah. Especially given that we can... Well, I guess that might be a little bit weakened by the moment right after where Flora shoots the Hitler.
But that is
Hitler.
I mean, you know, you got to kill the Hitler, man. You know.
I guess, yeah. This movie doesn't shy away either from showing why the Soviets would want to commit war crimes against the Germans, which I kind of understand. Like if any war crimes throughout history were justified, it's kind of those.
I mean, basically, if anyone can get a pass, it's probably these guys.
Yeah, but even then, we don't see them burn these Germans alive, which I do like. Kind of they are taking a little bit of the high road, even though they do gun them down.
I mean, dude, it's interesting too because there's this whole shootout that happens before we get the scene with the captured Germans under the bridge that we just don't see.
Yeah, we know something happened,
yeah.
but they don't go into it much, which again is good. Again, we don't ever see the violence itself. We see the effects of the violence.
I mean, it's Flora walking across this battlefield and running into Ilsa, she woman of the SS, as she bleeds out next to a radio.
Yeah.
You know,
it's also a haunting image. It's incredible.
Yes, it is.
The number of images in this that are seared into my head are genuinely incredible, and the way that they use those too, they don't deploy them willy nilly. When you see an image, it hits because they do a great job of framing it, sitting there just long enough to have the impact hit, and then you move on. You deal with, and it also does a great job of dealing with the way that humans deal with trauma, where we can't see the whole thing all at once. Because it's too much. It overwhelms us. So instead, they cut down and we see pieces of it. So instead of seeing... So you see that image, you take it in a little bit, but it's too much, both for Flora and for us. So we chop it down. We only see a little bit of it. We see her hand. We see the part of her that's bleeding. We see maybe the man next to her dying. But in parts, it chops up the scene a little bit, the way that we would actually handle a real trauma like that, where you can't wrap your head around the whole thing.
Everything in at once.
Right. So... and you've studied psychology quite a bit. Yeah, that's how we actually handle traumas. You chop it up. You deal with little pieces. You
chunk it.
Yeah,
just a little bit at a time.
Yeah, because you can't deal with the whole thing. And that the movie does a great job of kind of putting us into that cinematically of consistently we'll see the cow get shot and go down. That's one shot. But then we see parts of the cow. Flora is dealing with it as a whole. It's not a cow anymore. It's a thing. It's something that he's using as cover. But we don't really see the whole cow again. We see, again, pieces of it. We see the head, we see the eye, which is terrifying. We see the stomach. We don't see the whole thing because, again, Flora can't take it in.
I mean, seeing the flies buzzing around this thing's eye is just... Ugh.
And the eyes are another area that they consistently use as a metaphor. I mean, it's called come and see, but the visual seeing of the horror, again, is so much of it, again, in chopping it up, in the way that we only see things in passing or see bits of it, that we see the effects. It's perspective. It's playing so much with this perspective on the trauma in a very fascinating way that who's seeing what matters quite a bit, and what we're allowed to see matters a lot as well. That you can see that people are trying to kind of protect Flora, the partisans are early on in the movie, but they can't, that he still ends up seeing the horrors.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. And good work, Elim Klimov. I appreciate your work. Thank you.
I guess I will take you out with a quote from the director. I am burdened with strong recollections about that hell, because it was a trip to hell, and it lives with me forever. If that was what if this movie was his attempts to convey that hell to audiences, I would consider that mission accomplished.
He left me with a very haunted feeling, and I don't think I've seen a movie that does this quite as effectively.
Yeah. I mean, God, the movie's bleak when your next piece of Russian cinema is probably going to be more uplifting.
Yeah, there's no better summation than that.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of, we have Stalker coming up as our next film to watch. Mm-hmm. Thoughts on Stalker after watching this?
I mean, I am excited. Both of us like Soviet stuff, it seems.
Indeed.
And Russian stuff as well. I've read quite a bit of Russian literature. And I hope Stalker gives me the same empty feeling inside that Soviet literature does so well.
Alrighty. Well, I know I'm excited to go see it. And folks, this has been the Movies on Fire podcast. Please feel free to chime in on Blue Sky. Let us know if you have any recommendations for what we should check out next. And oh boy, if someone asks you to pick a movie at the next party, pick Austin Powers. Pick The Hangover. I don't know, Zach. What's a movie they should pick that isn't Come and See?
Yeah, Mean Girls. That's a good one.
Yeah, Mean Girls. Yeah, pick Mean Girls. That movie's so totally fetch.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah, and
Movies
let's say if you have some friends who would want to watch a
Fire.
good movie, Come and See is quite the choice.
Movies on
Alright, this has
Fire.
been Movies on Fire.